welcome to the Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the heart. I'm your host, Israel, and my guest today, we've been trying to make this happen since 2018. Tyree Jordan, coach, just, general all-round great human being. Thanks for coming to the Sanctuary today.
Thank you so much, Israel, for having me. And like you said,
I forgot to add model and actor.
yeah, I mean, I wear many hats, and I I have worn many hats, so it's all good that you didn't get all the time.
Yeah. So, which one came first, actually?
I guess modeling, if you want to, pick one king first. That one kind of started around the beginning of 2018, and then I kind of pushed it from there, and then that kind of transitioned me into wanting to work out and look fit more, which I already was doing prior, but I wasn't really doing it with a purpose. And then that kind of created me to start working on my personal development and career development to find out what it is that I want to do for work. As well as like trying to build myself to be the best person I can be. And then last but not least, the modeling kind of went into acting a bit. We've been fortunate enough in Nova Scotia to have, some film being going on here, especially with the COVID and stuff, with the numbers down. I can't speak of it now, but
yeah.
So yeah, I would say that the modeling kind of transitioned in 2018, and then that kind of transpired into everything else. But I mean, I've done so many things. Like I've tried to open up my own sushi restaurant. I've had a rap group in Newfoundland where I went to school. I've so many crazy things. I've worked in the hospital. I drove the ambulance before.
Holy shit.
I was a financial advisor for two different banks, for Scotiabank and Credit Union Atlantic. And now I found my home in higher education, and I'm with NSCC. So that's like kind of my career.
Dude, yeah, I remember when I was getting ready to do this episode, I was like, I'm going to introduce you as a Renaissance man because, like, you do so many things and you do it well, right? Because you always expect when someone is doing so many things, they'll be like, they're going to be fucking up in one of the other, but you do each one consistently well. How do you manage to achieve that?
Well, firstly, I appreciate you even saying that because I feel like I could do better, and we'll get more into the segment, but I feel like I've always been a person, Israel, who's had so many great ideas, but haven't been able to just capture one and hone in on that one and make sure that I do my best in that. And now as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that, you can't really do everything, and not everything is for everyone. So I'm really just trying to foster in on things that are really mean a lot to me right now, and we'll get into that, that I can really focus on. But it means a lot that you say that. I mean, I do try to have that mentality that everything that I go into, I want to go into it with the best of my ability. But I do realize that you can't really be in everything. You got to really be selective and really, go into stuff that's working towards your strength, but also that's going to make you grow as a person, not something that's just real easy. You got to have some type of challenges.
Yeah. So, what was it like for you growing up? Like, what was your childhood like? And what things then are influencing you now, or lessons you learned then are influencing you now?
So I was born in Halifax. I was actually born on Maitland Street, down by the YMCA kind of, and I spent most of my time in the north end of Halifax in my early years, and then I moved out to it's called the Pubs, but I moved out by that area by Halifax Shopping Center, basically from the time I was 7 or 8 until I was almost in high school, and then I moved out to Clayton Park, where went to Halifax West. So where has that? So my parents kind of had me when they were young. My dad was basically 19, going on 20, and my mom was 23. So I guess you could say that I felt like in a way that they made a lot of sacrifices for me, and I'm almost 30 now, and I have no children. So it's one of those things where I'm really trying to develop myself to be the best person I can be before I settle down in that regard. because I feel like my parents never really had the opportunity to do that, you know, and it was a blessing. I have a younger sister. She is 24. I had to think about it for a sec, but we're very close, and we grew up very close to each other. You know, of course, my dad's black and my mom's white, so you know it makes me mix. But I would definitely identify as being black, because if you look at me, you're not going to be like that guy's white. So,
Mm,
which is fun, and I love that. So I would say, you know, I was fortunate enough to have really good grandparents on both sides, especially my mom's side. They helped me a lot financially, especially to go away to university. And my grandfather always taught me, you know, to pay yourself first and to really invest and just be a man, you know, and, you know, taking care of your family and, you know what I mean, and doing what you have to do essentially. So I'm old school with respect to that, like the old school morals, but I'm
mhm.
new school with respect to like, I love and accept everybody. And, you know, I don't think anybody is better than anybody else. So I guess you could say like, that's a quick summarization of who I am.
Mm. You know, another thing that before you took all your photos down, wait, you gotta teach me though, is there a way to take all your photos down, or do you literally have to archive or delete each one on Instagram?
Yeah, so that's a good question. You can archive them or you can delete them. The reason why I went and did that was because I kind of, it's crazy because in this last 2 years, I just been going through a different kind of switch. I used to be on Instagram because you know, I really wanted to, I don't want to be seen, but like I was just, it was new to me, the whole modeling and stuff. And, you know, I really wanted to be out there and I still want to do that, but I want to do it the right way. So the reason I deleted all my photos because I kind of wanted to reinvent myself almost and come back, you know, not as a different person. I'm still Tyree. I'm still the same person, all things in time. But essentially, I just wanted to come with better material and just come once in a while. I feel like when you're, you know, you're not there as much, people tend to miss you. Whereas if you're there all the time, it's like, you know, oh, this guy
Oh,
again. You
whatever.
know what I mean? But it's this thing. I'm so comfortable. It's a mixture of like not being able to really get photo shoots right now because of the whole COVID. But it's majority of just like wanting to make sure that I really put a collection of pictures that I really like and that I really think represent me that I can
Mm.
share with everybody else. And it's funny because I have a post dropping tomorrow. So you'll finally see another picture, and I'll probably delete the other two and then just start fresh with that. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, but like, you know, I was asking, do you literally have to delete each your archive one at a time, or is there a way to do it as in bulk?
No, you have to go one at a time. But
Ah, fuck it, I'm not doing that.
but I didn't have that many photos to begin with,
Fair
Israel.
enough.
I had
Yeah, yeah,
maybe 50 to
yeah,
100 photos at my
yeah,
biggest. Yeah.
yeah. But like, anyway, you know, so why I brought up your Instagram was that before you put it, you know, took the photos down, you traveled to a number of places. So why, like, how did you get the travel bug, and like, where are some of the places you went to, and what were some of the experiences you had there?
Definitely. So, you can actually still see them if you look at the top. I have them labeled by the country, and my profile is
Oh.
open, so you can see it. So you can still see from each collection of each country I went to. But where essentially it came from, it all started. Well, the first time I ever left the country was I was 21 and I went to Las Vegas, and I went on a bachelor party with my cousin and my uncles, and that was pretty fun. That was a good experience. And then I didn't travel again until 2017, and I went to Mexico, Cancun, and Belize, in Belize City, which was incredible, amazing places. And then I've met a lot of different people in university, but one of my closest friends, he's actually Bosnian, and you know we connected, and he's like a brother to me now, and he's actually in Halifax here now living, and he was going to go back home to visit, and he said, you know, they have a thing called this Eurorail pass where you sign up and you pay like maybe a couple $100 and you get to go for multiple days out of the month, unlimited on a train.
Wow.
So we thought it'd be a cool idea, to essentially do that. So we started off. Well, he doesn't have a passport to get in the UK because he's Bosnian, so he had to go to Iceland. But I went to London. But then we both met up in Amsterdam, and we were there for 2018 Amsterdam King's Day, which was just a few days ago. If you know about that kind of stuff, and that was a fantastic, fun time. And then we essentially went on the train from there down to Germany, and we spent a day in Berlin. Still to this day, Israel is the most steps I've ever walked in my whole entire life. I walked the whole.
What got you, what led to all the steps you had in Berlin?
Well, the thing was with this Eurail pass is, our ultimate goal was to get to Belgrade, which is in Serbia, because then in Belgrade we could have drove from Belgrade to Sarajevo, where he's from in Bosnia. So the whole idea was to kind of go around these different countries as we went. And when we got in Berlin, we knew Berlin was a significant, city where, with the wall and all the stuff that's happened there, that we really wanted to try to get as much as we could see in the city. Um,
Mm.
I'll share with you. Well, you can go and see it in the country and there, but when we first arrived, it was 7 a.m. in the morning, and all the streets were bare, and it was crazy because by the time we got back to leave to go get the train, because at that point we went to Prague in Czech Republic, which we can get to next. So many people were around. It was like, wow, like there's millions of people out on these streets. Where were they? And this is obviously pre-COVID times. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
it's
Yeah.
so weird talking about it because it's like, oh man,
Right.
take for granted.
Yeah.
But yeah, we walked the whole city, got some food. We fell asleep at a random park. For like there was two separate hammocks, and we just like fell asleep there, and then we woke up and we're like, whoa, like man, so then we got on the train, and overnight we went to Prague. And I'll get into that story because this is a good segue actually, and this is probably the craziest story. But so that night when we went to Berlin, when we were in Berlin and we were getting the train to go to Prague, the lady who was selling us the tickets told us that she was really hesitant. She was really hesitant to tell us to take this particular route of travel, but we knew that it would save us a lot of time, and we would get to Prague in the morning early enough where we can kind of enjoy the day like we did in Berlin. But the problem was we didn't know we were going to get stuck in this little city or town, I don't know what you want to call it, called Děčín in Czech Republic. And this was a very dangerous kind of place to get stuck at, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning, knowing you
Wow.
can't go till 6 in the morning when the train departs. So essentially, we were there for
Oh.
3 hours at this random, train station in Děčín, Czech Republic, if you want to look it up. And I've never been more scared in my life because I'm with my buddy, Addy is his name, and he speaks Bosnian, which if you can speak Bosnian, you can speak Croatian and Serbian because it's all the same kind of language. It's just different dialect and stuff. But he doesn't know what they're saying. So we're looking around, and I'm like, read this, read this. He's like, I don't know, bro. I cannot read it. I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you can't read it? Like, so we were like the blind leading the blind, and there was nothing we could do. Essentially, we had to stay put until the morning. And there was one point where we went outside just to get some fresh air,
Mm.
and there was like a bar down the street that you could see, and then there was a sketchy character guy that came up to us, and he had a gold chain, like one of those fake gold chains, but you could tell he just wasn't playing with a full deck. And here I am being approached by this guy, and he's speaking, Czech to Addy, and Addy doesn't know what he's saying. He's speaking Bosnian. It sounds like they're speaking the same language, but again, I'm not trying to be ignorant, but they're speaking the same language, talking to each other, and I'm just sitting there like, I don't know what. I'm just, getting ready for whatever, and I could see that the conversation was escalating to a point where I was like, uh-oh, but apparently I found out afterwards he was saying, can we, you come with us, we will come with me and my buddies, we have a bar down there, we'll put your luggage and come drink with us. And then when my buddy Addy was kind of saying like no, he essentially was getting aggressive. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Israel, out of
Mm.
nowhere, he pulls out this pendant, and it had the Nazi symbol, and he puts it close to my face and was like, "You see this? You know what this is?" And all I could think of was like how, my black grandmother was like, "You better not go in any weird, sketchy places. You better make sure you come home." Like she was very adamant. And I was like, I got to
Right.
do whatever I got to do to make sure I get back to Canada alive and well. So at that point, Addie was like, I was ready to go, but I didn't know, like, again, we're in a random, station. I could tell by my buddy Addie's demeanor that, just come back in the station, just ignore it, let it go. It's not worth it, especially you don't know your surroundings. So we went back inside, and at this point, some security guys, and the security guys there carry guns, believe it or not. Like, that's how serious it is in this place.
Wow.
And they came in and they said they didn't know very little English. We're starving at this point. There's no canteen, there's no food, there's no there's no internet and no reception. So I couldn't even send a last message out I took some videos, and I'll share them after. Like, I took some videos and stuff after the whole ordeal. But
Yeah.
the security guy said, I'm gonna lock you guys in here for the night now because it's not safe for you guys. And we
Wow.
were like, okay. So sure enough, he locked us in there. About 20 minutes pass, Israel.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you start hearing bang, 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 bang. We look at the window. There's like 5 of them now, and they're like, "Come on, open the door, open the door." They're trying to get in, and I'm
What the
just like
fuck?
trying not to look, and I'm like, I'm nervous as fuck. I'm sorry if I don't know if I could swear. I heard you
Yeah.
say.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so I'm nervous as fuck, and I'm sitting there like, what is gonna happen? Like, so I'm thinking about what do I have with me that I can protect myself with. So my buddy Addy, he had a tripod, so he had this big old long tripod. He could use that if he needed to. So I'm like, what do I have? I had a top of a tuna lid that I folded in half and made a shiv, and then I had a plastic. I swear to God, I'll send you all this after to verify, because I don't bullshit. I'll tell fact stories. I had floss that I tied the lid of the tuna can to this plastic knife that I had, and I had a shiv, and I was like, if they somehow get in here, I'm protecting myself. And no, the thing is, I was looking at different like places, like, is there like a place where I can, climb up the wall? Like, it was crazy. It was absurd. I'm telling you, to this day, there's only been a few times I've been that scared in my life. And then finally, I don't know what happens. Like, I'm sitting on the chair like this, dozing in and out, like remembering, oh yeah, this is my reality. Going back to sleep. This is my reality. Going back to sleep. Until 4:00 in the morning. Finally, the security comes back, unlocks the door. They're walking around. As soon as security comes, I'm in and out. I see the guys come in because the security's there, so they can come in now. And then they just walk by us quick. And I had this shiv like this, like just waiting to see if he's gonna do that. Nothing. Sure enough, they were like, "You can board now too." Oh man, I got on them. And then the next morning when we were in, sorry, I lied. The Chin is in Germany, but it's on the border of Germany and Czech Republic. So I wasn't technically in Czech Republic, but I was on the border of Germany and Czech Republic. And it just so happened that place was very like stuck back in, the 1940s. But I survived it. And I'll just put another funny story on that on top of it. So there was actually one more incident in Dubrovnik, Croatia, where something similar happened. But at that point, I already got punked off. I felt like in the Chin, I was ready to go in Czech Republic. So that story so that story, very quick, Israel, was we're in Dubrovnik, and it looks like it's really like old and like medieval type. There's lots of stones and stuff, and it's a really romantic place, believe it or not, if you ever to go with with your partner or whatever. But so here's me and Addie walking on the streets, and we see this sketchy looking guy, and at the time he's like talking to this tourist that has like literally like the hiking canes, like the most soft guy you could ever imagine. Like, I felt so bad. And he said something to him, and he was like, "You get going, or you don't be here." I don't know. He was saying something to him, and I said to Addie, I was like, "Look," I was like, "Man, I'm not playing none of that." I was like, "If someone like that comes up here," I was like, I took it into Chin, I let Buddy punk me off, but like, we're at the end of our travels now. My patience is very thin for disrespect, And he's like, "No, bro, don't worry, nothing will happen." So I'm like, okay. So, sure enough, 30 minutes later, Israel, we're walking at this place. We're looking for somewhere just to sit down and have a beer. This guy is walking towards us, and he's looking and making eye contact with us. And, here I am, I got pride. So I'm looking at him, but not in a way where I'm looking for trouble, but looking at him like, like, I dare you to say something. And sure enough, this motherfucker's like, what? You say something? And he knows the same language as Addy, my buddy I'm with. So this is a good one. So like they know what they're saying to each other. So I felt more safe. I felt like,
Mm.
Addy will know what's up. So he's like, you say something? I was like, who the fuck are you talking to? I was like, look, I'm not letting you punk me off. I was like, if you want to do something, like put your hands up and fight. And then I could tell he was thrown off. He was like, oh shit, like this guy just went from 0 to 100 real quick.
Hmm.
But he didn't know my trials and tribulations that led to that.
Right, right,
So,
right.
anyways, he ends up seeing someone else that he knows that he yells out to and says, "Hey," I guess he was saying in his language like, "Hey, like these two guys aren't from here; they're from Canada. Like, come, let's fight them." Da da da. And the other guy, who honestly, like, he was as big. He was big like my buddy Addy's big. My buddy Addy's like 6'4", 6'5". This guy, so it would have been a good 2-on-2 brawl if it would have got to that. So low key, I was kind of. Buddy was like, no, like, leave them alone, da da da. So Buddy just kind of like, and walked off. You know what I mean? So nothing happened, which I was
Hmm.
kind of happy for because at the end of the day, again, you don't know your surroundings. You're out there traveling. Pride was on the line clearly, and it was just one of those things where it's just really not worth it. You don't want to get caught up in another country where you're not from and end up in jail, and then God knows what could happen to you. So to anybody out there, man, just if you're in a country and whether it be Dominican, Cuba, Czech Republic, the Chin, just be cautious and know your surroundings and just be safe.
The chain, man. Are you writing a book? You should write a
I
fucking
should,
book,
eh?
man. Yeah, yeah, you should. You should be like, you should write about how long did you guys travel for this trip?
This all happened over 3 weeks. We spent more majority of the time in Dubrovnik. But just to name off the places, so Amsterdam, Berlin, Prague. We spent like a few hours in Hungary, which was really cool. But like not too long there. I was in Belgrade, which is in Serbia, and I was in Sarajevo, which is in Bosnia, and I was in Dubrovnik, which was in Croatia, and Split, which was in Croatia. And then I went back and went to Zagreb, which is in Croatia, which is in the. So I went to all the major places in Croatia, which was kind of cool.
Mm. Where did you fly from to get home?
So what I did was I'm one of those people. I love the cheap deals. You know what I mean? Like so I there's like a website. I can't remember it right off the hand if it comes to me. But basically it searches all like the listings to find like the best cheapest route. So to fly there, I went from Halifax, Toronto, London, and then of course London to Amsterdam, and then took the trail all the way to Split. So I flew back from Split to Germany, Frankfurt, and then luckily Germany, Frankfurt has the direct flight from there to Halifax.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh man, yeah. Dude, I'm serious. You should really write a book. That's a story. That's a story. Cause like you have that experience. You come home, and like, what have you been modeling by then, or like that was before?
So that was right kind of when modeling started happening in January, February of 2018. This
Mm.
trip was at the end of April to May 2018. So actually, in that
Oh.
particular time, I was doing a lot of work with East Coast Lifestyle and shooting with them a lot because my good buddy
Mm.
Troy was really popping off. It was really going well with that. So I was fortunate enough to have Alex give me a few things, a few items that I brought away with me to get some content and stuff. Because I was just starting off. I was just really getting my feet wet, figuring out what the whole modeling scene had to offer. And then when I got back from the trip, is when I signed with Sully Productions Management, and that's who the agency that I'm with now.
Yeah, so I guess how's the modeling journey been so far? What do you like about it? Are there any things you don't like about it?
Um, So I mean I've been loving the journey so far. Like right now, obviously it's a stagnant time,
Mm.
but I'm just happy where everything kind of worked out with me being a part of Solely Productions Management because I did try to get into Numa. I tried to get into Numa. I reached out to City Models and I didn't hear anything. So I was very fortunate, and I'll give him a shout out right now. Adam O'Brien. He's a photographer. He's a really good photographer. He's the one that I shot with him once, and he recommended Soli And he was like, do you want to reach out to her? She specializes in diverse, models and people of color and all that different, So I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I reached out to Letha. She was very receptive, and she's been a very strong ally ever since. And
Mm.
I look at her as like a mentor. I look at her as a role model. I look to her as an agent. I look to her as a friend. I look at her as a strong Black woman. She's awesome. So I was very fortunate for that all coming together. What I like the most about it is that our team particularly, we're so diverse, and we all want the same thing, and that's
Mm.
essentially to be the best versions of ourselves creatively through acting and modeling, and to support one another so that we're all on a global scale, essentially all Nova Scotia. Because at the end of the day, like, I get so angry because I feel like sometimes people get into the competition mindset thinking that if some person makes it, I can't make it,
Mm.
or I got to get this gig and the other person can't. And I'm an abundance mindset type of person, so I feel like if one of us gets it, we should all celebrate. You know what I mean? Because at
Mm.
the end of the day, on a global scale and then on a universal scale, like, we're so insignificant. So if any of us can really make a noise, it's just gonna benefit the rest of us.
Yeah. No, that is true indeed. That is true indeed. Then I guess something, that Solita is amazing. I love everything she's been doing. But why do you think, stupid question, why do you think most companies have issues with, like, well, not issues, but have difficulties in selecting models when it comes to people of color?
I think that it's been that way for so long that's ingrained in the industry essentially. But of course now we're in a beautiful time in history where diversity and being different is starting to get valued more. People are knowing that you know they need to see diversity. You know what I mean? You're not going to go one and to purchase a product or to get a service if you're not going to see anybody like yourself. So it's
Mm.
almost like it's a message in a way. I think that, so to go answer your question, I think that it's because society has taught us that, and it's been that way for a long way. But I can, happily say that I feel like things are going in the right direction and that they will continue to change.
Yeah.
So, the solely production stock price is going to go up. You
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And then, so you did the modeling thing. How do you segue into film?
So how it started in the film was, there's a website called Hennessy Casting, which is, a very fortunate, service that we're able to have through Aaron Hennessy, which is awesome. Where, we're able to apply to, different opportunities, background work, stuff like that. Um, so I just kind of started exploring with that. I got in a few episodes background in Digstown, and I really like the idea of be showing up and being your best, but also they take really good care of you. I've never been on a set where I haven't been taken care of with respect to, they make sure that you're fed and that everything's good. You know what I mean? Like, with respect to that. So I just think it's and not to mention it pays really good. For the amount of work that you essentially do. Not to say that it's not a lot of work, but I mean, like, there's worse things that you could be doing. And I feel like, Halifax again is on such a small scale modeling wise that you have to be diverse. You have to get into other avenues, you know what I mean? Like commercials and, runway, all you gotta, I feel like, you know, you have to really get your foot in a little bit of everything, and then you'll be able to find what your niche is and kind
Mm.
of take it from there, let the universe control it. So that's kind of how I got into the whole acting, but now I'm really enjoying it because I've always, I did really well in drama class when I was in high school. And I know you're thinking, like, well, that's drama class. That doesn't fucking matter in real life. But I think it does because I got a
It
98.
does. It does. It does. It does. It does. Personally, I think every little thing everybody does in their life adds up to where they are, right? Everything that happened to you brought you to where you are now. And so, like, everything counts. And talking of, like, diversifying, let's talk about you carrying all these heavy weights. So there's the thing is that your body looks great, but you train like you're doing powerlifting. How is that, like, how is that possible? Because you lift really, really, really heavy weights.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, like, there's definitely people that lift a lot more than me. I like the idea of bodybuilding with respect to, like, I like to keep the rep range around 8 to 12, but really like slow down that motion and really have a good eccentric motion. And what that means is just like when you're raising it down, just because it puts more pressure on the muscle. I'm very blessed because I have good genetics with regards to certain things. You know what I mean? I have shitty calves. I can say that proudly. Like I could work on my calves, but I got a good back and I got strong ass legs. So you know what I mean? God doesn't give you everything. So I feel like you got to use what works best for you. I have a really good squat, but my deadlift shit. You know what I mean? My bench could be stronger. You know what I mean? But I got strong ass shoulders. So like there's just different things. But so I would say like I really just try to stay like lean bulk. I try to keep myself around, 185. I was really trying to put on a few more pounds before the summer to shred down, but then, the cold COVID, the gym shut down. So it kind of said like, Ty, you got to start cutting, you got to start like, you know what I mean? Working on your summer body now. But yeah, man, I just like I've been doing it for, like, as I said, probably a decade now. But not as serious as, within the last, I'd say, a year. Last year, I got real serious. I feel like
What changed?
COVID. COVID made me really like there was no, actually, you know what? I was talking about this last night with someone. So 2020 came, and then my role model, my biggest influence ever is Kobe Bryant. He passed away tragically, him and his daughter.
Right.
And that really messed me up, Israel. Like, I got really sick. You know what I mean? Like I got like the flu. I like to think I had COVID way back when it wasn't popular. Like, but all jokes aside, I did get sick, and I just wasn't happy. I was devastated what happened. Like my two biggest heroes was Kobe Bryant and my grandfather, and he's gone now. He passed away in 2018. So it was just like kind of a realization that like, you're all you got now. Like it's time. It's time for you to grow up. It's time for you to really, stop fucking around, essentially. So I had to look at a lot of things in my life I wasn't really happy with, and I had to really look in the mirror and try to, imagine, which is very hard to do, the man I want to be and how I want to see myself in the future. So I guess that happened, and then I turned 28 at the time. And COVID happened, so then that even more amplified what, you know what I mean, I was really in my own thoughts. And then I started getting in the habit of listening to, and this is just a fun fact for people, but I like listening to people tell stories of prison stories and stuff. But when I say that, I mean, like, I like hearing people like Wes Watson, and there's Jay Williams, Us of Life. Like, those are a couple of YouTubers I like listening to. But I like hearing about, like, them going through these tough times, but then being able to take the positive of it, and then take that time to really teach people, like, there's different ways and different paths you can go to. So I really find pleasure in that. And it's crazy. Like, I started reading, I always read as a kid, but not really seriously. I started running. I was in cross country when I was in elementary and junior high. So it's crazy how life works, because I feel like when you're born, what you're a kid, you can't express it, but what you're supposed to do on this earth, or at least I feel like you do. And then what happens is you grow up, and depending on who your parents are, depending on the environment you have, depending on all these different external factors, it either pushes you closer to where you need to be, or it pushes you away from where you need to be. And I feel like, COVID really put me back down centered, so I could really find out who it is that I like. Like, if you would have asked me 5 years ago or 10 years ago, would I be reading a book a week? I'd be like, fuck no. You know what I mean? I don't do that. Like, you know what I mean? But now you ask me now, my favorite thing to do is to go down to Africville, sit in my car and read. And I like the personal development books. I like self-help books. I like anything that's going to give me some type of knowledge that I can try to ingrain in myself and to pass it on to someone that needs to hear it.
Mm, mm, mm. I think more often than not, it is more away from where you want to be. Because, like, as a kid, right, you're playing, you're learning, you're doing all these things, you are experiencing this amazing place you are in, soaking everything in, and then it's gonna start with small. Don't do that. Oh, don't hang out with that person. And then you go to school, and then you are the bad kid if you are not doing what is on the school board, or if you want to express yourself that's in a way that's different from what is expected in the school, then you're the bad kid. And then you be like, okay, so for me to be the good kid, I have to let go of all these things I'm passionate about and then do these things that I don't know I'm supposed to do. And then, you turn 20 and you're like, oh, well, I guess this is what I'm doing now. And then you find that one day you're just sitting down like, what the fuck am I doing, man? Like, what the fuck am I doing? And I think it's when you get to that point that you remember that the thing you were meant to do, or your thing that really brings you joy, is that thing you were doing when you were 5, right? And when you now start doing that thing again, it's like all of a sudden everything just makes sense, and it's like, fuck, I get it now. And so yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that parents are bad, or teachers are bad, or whatever, but like sometimes it can be, man. I think that, they should just allow kids be kids for as long as possible, right? Right. But anyway, I don't have kids, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But I just really think, people should let kids be kids.
Yeah, I think you made a really good point because you talk about how the parents and the teachers and the influence, the coaches or whoever they are, they're the ones that are interacting with these students, so they're essentially ingraining the beliefs into the students, and we know how strong beliefs are. So if you're gonna believe you're gonna believe you're a bad kid, you're gonna believe that you're only good at doing this one thing, you're gonna believe that you're bad at doing other things. Just as well as I knew that that's very powerful shit. And if you believe that, you know and you continue to believe that over time as you get older, that's going to be harder habit to break. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like I know I'm not a morning person, you know what I mean? But I stopped going away and saying I'm just not a morning person to I struggle with waking up in the morning, but I'm going to work on that. You know what I mean? You gotta, and I love books because you learn all this shit, but like when you start having these kind of conversations with yourself, your whole
mm.
life's going to improve because again, like you are what you say, you know what I mean? And I just so many fucking dimes I could just throw, like, you know what I mean? Like another one, like don't get involved in a conversation unless it's providing value to you or unless you're passionate about it. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different quotes that I could just, spit out and stuff. But no, I love that you said that because I feel like
No, that's true. So like you started going on this journey. I mean, like something visceral as losing someone that important to you kind of shook you to your core and it's like, okay, what the fuck am I doing, right? And then you get on this path. How has the path been so far for you?
that's a really good question. So it's definitely bumpy. There's days where I wake up and I'm not as on point as I'd like to be, and I feel like I'm hard on myself. But it's a marathon, not a race. So I feel like if every day I can just take, one area and really make sure that it was better than the other day. If I slack a little bit in that area, then I'll just make sure by the next day I'm on point. So it's definitely hard. It's definitely hard, Israel, because I mean it's very easy to get down on yourself and be like, what the fuck? But then, when you take a step back and you look how far you came, you gotta be nice on yourself. But I'm one of those person, like, you can't really be nice to yourself all the time. You gotta be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say the raw shit, like, you know what I mean? And that kind of gives you more of a sense of urgency, whereas you say, you know what, well, you've never been good at that, or no one taught you how to do that. Like, that's the wrong mindset to have, you know what I mean? Yeah, you gotta take full responsibility.
So, you're going on this journey, and something you've mentioned a couple of times is the mindset. And I'm like, okay, apart from the books you're reading, what kind of mindset are you on now, and what things are you doing to maintain and improve that mindset?
Yeah, so this is a really good question. Again, I love these questions. So I don't know if anybody's in astrology. I tend to think astrology. There's some benefits in astrology, whether you like it or not. I'm a Pisces. I'm a true Pisces. I'm a Pisces moon and a Pisces sun, and a Scorpio rising. Just for those folks that want to know. So, what that means essentially is like I'm a very like I can feel things. I'm very intuitive with respect to I can feel how other people feel, which is good and bad, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where you gotta know who you are, on a ground level to be able to cope with this world. So where I'm going with this essentially is I know that I'm a sensitive, emotional type of guy, you know what I mean? I know that there's certain things with respect to my personality traits that I got to work on. So what I did was I discovered, philosophy in a way where there's stoicism specifically, which looks at as temperance, justice, courage, and wisdom are the four pillars. So I like to look at that as something that keeps me grounded, because that philosophy is a very grounded philosophy, or at least in my opinion, if you want to do some research on it yourself.
Mm,
So I feel like that allows me to work on some of, I don't want to say weaknesses, but some of my focal points that I could improve. Again, being sensitive and emotional, I feel like that kind of keeps me more rational and
mm.
more, level headed. You know what I mean? It gives me some of that earth sign. You know what I mean? It gives me some grounding that I lack, just in who I am and how I am as a person. So I feel like, again, it goes down to knowing who you are and trying to find, things that make sense to you that are going to complement with the person you're trying to be, and essentially what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, it is not like you said. It's not an easy path. It is difficult. It is not for everyone. I think everyone should get on the path because it is good for you, but it's also not for everyone because, not everyone is going to be willing to put in the work. However, because it's difficult, there are times when you're not in the mood to put in the work. What keeps you going at that point?
Yeah, so essentially, obviously, there's going to be times where you don't want to do stuff, and it gets really difficult. But that's why it's so important to do the early work. And when I say that the early work is knowing who you are, looking at all the things you've been through, looking at, the person that you developed into being, and starting with why you want to do what you want to do. And I don't want to bring books into it, but I got Start With Why right beside me is one of a really good book. But essentially, you're gonna face adversity, you're gonna face tough times, and in those tough times you really got to rely on two things. You got to rely on, um, why you're doing it. You know what I mean? Whether that be, you're a family person, or you're doing it because you want to doubt the haters, or whatever the reason is, your why has to be strong enough. But your why has to be outside of yourself. Your why can't be for yourself, because if it's for yourself, you're gonna give up. But if you're wise for your grandparents, if you're wise for your sister, if you're wise for your daughter or son, you're gonna be more inclined to keep going, as opposed to, not caring about yourself. Because you can feel great about yourself one day and shitty about yourself the next. But with the love that you have for a family member, regardless if you're mad at that person or not, that shit doesn't go anywhere. So I think you got to really start with the why and have that deep foundation in knowing why. But then you got to put in work so that, and I'm going to quote David Goggins on this because he's the man, but you got to stack up your cookies for the cookie jar. So essentially that means, you got to do the work. You wake up 6 a.m. on Monday, but you didn't wake up Tuesday. On Wednesday, you're like, fuck, like, well, you did wake up one day this week. So use that. You have that fuel in the tank to push you to the next day, to push you to the next day. So you got to essentially do the work and, count the work and reflect on the work to keep you going. So two things: your why got to be really deep. You got to know what it is you're trying to accomplish and be strong with it. And you got to do the work essentially so that you can keep building on the work, that instills the consistency and yeah.
Yeah. So, being stoic, I guess, why should, not for everyone again, but for people that might be interested, what are some things they can do to get on the path of being stoic?
So as I said in the beginning, the four temperaments is the justice, the temperance, the courage, discipline, and wisdom. I think I said an extra one there, but what you can start with, is doing something that you don't want to do each day. So, one of the really, common themes in stoicism is suffering. Suffering is inevitable. You're going to suffer. The problem is, are you going to complain, or are you just going to suffer and know that, it's for a greater purpose? So I think one of the biggest things, like for instance, someone like me, I don't like cold water. So back when the gyms was open, I would take a cold shower for 2 minutes right after.
I
Yeah, yeah,
can feel it now. Oh no.
yeah. So I would do that just as something that I didn't want to do. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
yesterday, I didn't want to run 3 miles. I was tired, but I did it. So I just feel like it's one of those things where you really just gotta you know what I mean, know in your heart that you have a greater purpose. And I love what you said, because like I'm still searching my path to find out, what it is that I'm meant to do in this world. But I know that it's around helping people for sure. I'm definitely a person that likes to help people, and someone that's gonna be lead by example. But I'm not perfect, and I'm working to be where I need to get to. Um, but one of my biggest quotes that I love to reference back to is like, don't take advice from anybody that is not in a position where you would like to be or has been.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, you got to live what you preach, my brother. So like, I can't be out here, saying I'm a personal trainer and not have, an APEC and be the best of my. I can't be out here, you know what I mean, saying that I care about, the community when I'm not doing anything in the community. So it's just, you really got to live what you say, you know what I mean? Because you know what I mean? It holds more value when you're, you know what I mean? And leaders do more, straight up. There's way more other leaders out there than, you know what I mean, that are doing crazy things in this world, even in this city. I'm nothing, you know what I mean? But I'm working my way to be, someone that someone can look up to and motivate, so that they can bring up the next man or woman, or you know what I mean? It's all about my favorite quote. And if you want to close on something like this is, create the person that you want to be and admire and that you needed as a child, so that you can give him away to the world. And you got to
Oh.
leave it better than what it was when you found it.
Where's that from?
That's from, well, I got that from Wes Watson, one of those prison YouTubers I told you about that I like listening to.
Mm.
He's just a no bullshit type of dude, man. He's really raw, and he swears a lot, and but I love that, man. I love that message, because it's so true. You know what I mean? Like, create the man that you admire in every way, just so that you could be, selfless and give him away to the world. You know what I mean? Because
Mm.
like, that's all that should be your life goal, or create the best person. I don't want to say man, but person.
So you're on this path, right? You're building, and you don't want to accept it, but you're known, you're seen. Um, what ways are you looking at giving back some of these things you've learned?
Yeah, so I appreciate you saying that, but I always stay very humble, very stoic. You know what I mean? Like, again, it's not about me. I'm fucking no one compared to the city. You know what I mean? I do it just because it's what I'm meant to do. But I guess what I want to give, to my city, to my hometown, is I want to give, I want to give everybody someone that you can look up to, that knows that he's going to do everything that he can in his power to, you know what I mean, support you and help you, so that you can find out where you belong and where you want to be placed in the world, so that you
Mm.
can provide the next value for the next person and next person. And you know what I mean? So I really want to be a role model in every regards to that kind of respect.
And like, what ways are you doing that? Like, are you doing, like, will you have a school or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah, sorry, the dogs just busted in my room, so I just had to get them out of there very quick. But yeah, so I'm a strong believer that everything happens for a reason, and fate's something that you can't really get out of. I
Mm.
was fortunate enough to join NSCC back in December of 2018, and I was in admissions, and I'm still in admissions right now. But I had the opportunity to be in a role as a student service advisor, but I specialized as African cultural support. So I looked after the black students in at the Pictou campus for 4 months. And I had such a fantastic time in that role, because essentially I could practice what I preach in a way where I could be that advisor, that person, that could support students, that will support them in every way I can, so that they
Mm.
can be the best version of themselves. So, and not only could I do it for students, but I could do it for black students in my, you know what I mean, in my province. So it was very passionate for me. You know what I mean?
Mm.
My goal is to essentially show people that, you could obviously take two paths. You know what I mean? You could go the path where everybody else is going, or you could be the lone, ranger, and go your own path and create your own legacy, but you don't have to look over your shoulder. You know what I mean? And you could just live life and be a good, person. And someone that I look up to, I don't know if you know who he is, but is Danny Stone. He's came and did a couple presentations at NSCC, and he preaches the same stuff. He's an author. He has his own podcast. He's an awesome person. But again,
Mm.
he's another person that I can look up to, so that I can try to aspire to be like. You know what I mean? And and then hopefully one day someone can see me in that regard. So I did a I did an event back in February for Black History Month called Ask a Black Entrepreneur, where I got Salitha, Trev, and Barbara Roberts, who has a, a a brand. I'm just trying to think, like clothing, accessories, kind of stuff like that. And I asked them engaging questions. Like, what are some difficulties that you face being, a Black entrepreneur? How do you overcome these challenges? What advice can you give students who are looking to, make their dream a reality but just don't have the time? So that was just one project that I had the chance of running in the 4 months. I mean, it did go like that, but I'm hoping to get back in advising again so that I can run more events like that. And that was actually external events, so that was open to anybody that had access to internet. And it wasn't just for the Black students. I created it around that because it was Black History Month, of course.
Yeah.
But I just want to do stuff like that. I definitely want to look at doing some type of mentorship where I have a idea in the works that behind the scenes is called Real Models. But it's saying real models like you're, because it's like a double entendre in a way, because like I'm a real model, but I want to be a real model, like a real model citizen, someone you can look up to. So that kind of stuff is in the works. To be honest, I haven't put much work into that as of late, but again, it's discipline. I gotta go look at that and really put something to play. But it's in my mind, and it's there, and I'm gonna launch it when the time's right. You know what I mean? But definitely some type of mentorship program for young Black youth, so that they can, or any youth, you know what I mean? Like I want the focus to be Black, yes, of course, because that's who I am in my soul, in my heart, and that's what I'm passionate for. But at the end of the day, I'm a human being, and I care about every human. So it's for anybody who wants to take advantage of it. You know what I mean? As something that you can look up to for mentorship. I feel like now that I'm in the educational sector, especially with a fantastic organization like NSCC, I have so many connections. There's so many jobs out there. I feel like I can link people up with, you know what I mean? I want to be able to go sit down with junior high school kids or high school kids and just say what it is that you want. What do you want? Oh, you don't know? Okay, that's fine. Majority of them are going to not know what they want. But then I want to have things in place where they can experiment and try different things so that they can say, you know what, Ty, I think I like doing this. And then I'll say, okay, you know what? I'm going to hook you up with someone that's been in that field for 15 years so you can connect with them and you can ask them some questions. You can be real with them. You know what I mean? You can really find out, if that's what you want to do. So if I could do something like that, Israel, you got me you got me fired up now, brother.
Okay. Man, Tyree, it's always a nice time chatting with you. And then I should have ended it with that quote, but I think I have a better way I want to end the show. So, when people set up like an Instagram page or whatever, it's like their name or like their nickname or their brand or company or whatever. But like, you have the solely models ones, like that's modeling. But the two that stands out is like your personal one, All Things in Time, and then like the one for personal training, like, more with energy. They're like really, really powerful phrases that you put together, right? Why did you decide to use those names? That's how I think I want to end the show.
Well, Israel, my brother, I'm so happy that you see that. That it's just not a IG handle. I'm glad that you can see the deeper meaning behind it. So my old name that I had was I am Tyree. So I did have it as that originally. But then I made the decision that I wanted to switch it up and switch it to All Things in Time. And the whole idea behind All Things in Time. You're still there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay,
Yeah.
it froze for a bit, so I was scared. I was like, man, I don't want to have to say all this shit again.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so go.
Yeah, so essentially I came up with the name All Things in Time because I was really thinking one day, and this was actually ironically this, and again, it's crazy to think about it in retrospect, but this was before I did all this self, I had All Things in Time for like at least 3 or 4 years now. But even back then, I knew that all things are possible in time. You just got to give it time. You just have to be patient. So the whole idea around that was, just to be patient and to know that all things will happen in due time. You know what I mean? I could have had it in due time. I could put the name as that too. So I guess that was the concept. And then, all my good ideas come to me right before bed. Ironically, I'm laying in bed, and I always wanted to be a personal trainer, just because I always felt like I was blessed genetic wise, and I felt like I had that push to give to people, so I might as well get paid for something that I'm passionate or that I'm good at. So when I was thinking about a name for my handle, I was like, what's something really powerful that it might go over some people's heads, but to me and wise men like yourself who are gonna know what that means. And I thought, well, all things in time, but you get more things with energy. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, a lot of people think that the most valuable thing in this world is time. And although I do agree that it is one of the more valuable things, but I think energy essentially is the most valuable thing in this whole entire universe, because without it, nothing goes. And without it, your time's wasted. So there's no point of having all the time in the world if your time's wasted. And that kind of goes back to my whole idea of more with energy, because I feel that you can get more with energy. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? If you go put good energy out in the world, you're gonna get that good energy back. If you go, you say I'm just starting to go to sleep right now. If I go do 10 push-ups, I'm creating energy. I'm gonna bring myself back to life. So I just think that the name is so powerful because it shows people that they can get more out of energy, and if they just put more energy into things, all things can happen in time.
Dude, man. So thank you first for coming to the sanctuary, and thank you for hanging with that. But I guess we have to decide, what are you gonna call the show? Are you gonna call it the More with Time show or the All Things in Time show? It has to be one of the two.
Oh man, probably All Things in Time, because I'm still, that's what I'm obviously most known on right now, still, like with my
Yeah.
my handle. But I think my More with Energy account's pushing 77 followers. I'm not counting or anything, but it's slowly creeping up there. But I feel like the more exposure that I get and stuff, and I really haven't pushed it that much yet. What I'm really focused on, Israel, right now, my brother, is building up that consistency and doing the shit that I don't want to do, so that when it's time to do it and I got my certification and I got my clients and stuff, it's going to be easier transition. So now I'm recording my workout shit. I don't have to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing it. I am doing it for people to see, but I'm doing it so that I can instill that habit. Because again, one of the best books I just read was Atomic Habit. I really recommend. I want to recommend some books on here right quick. Start with Why,
Yeah,
and
go for it.
start with Why and Atomic Habit, and 7 habits to build effective ways by Steve Covey. 7 effective ways. I can't remember the name right now, but if you look it up, 7 effective ways, you'll find it. Effective habits. But I just find that books are so powerful, man. They're again, man. I don't want to be a nerd too much, but fuck it, I'll nerd it out right now. They just carry so much knowledge, and it just saves you so much time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, all things in time, but you don't have all the time. If you get what I'm
Mm.
saying. So you got to learn it from people, mistakes, lessons, whatever, stories. That's why I love stories, and storytelling is so powerful. So I appreciate you allowing me to tell that story about the chin, in
The
Germany.
chin, the chin. Oh my God. You should really write a book, man. You should really write a book about the chin. Dude, Tyree, thank you so much for coming to the sanctuary and for sharing all you've done. I can't wait to see more about what you're gonna do with More with Energy and All Things in Time, and the new set of photos you're gonna have on that Instagram.
Well, I don't want to put the expectation on the photos too high. I'll put the few, but it's not nothing going to blow people off their seats too much. It's more so just a collection of stuff. But I really appreciate you having me on the show, Israel. Like you said in the beginning, we've been trying to do this for so long, and it was mostly my fault on that. So I apologize. I'm just very thankful that you did give me the opportunity to come on and be on your show, because I support you 100%, brother. I love what you're doing. You're consistent. You know what I mean? You're real. You've had a lot of really good people on your show that, I really look up to and that I respect. So I appreciate it, my brother. And I look forward to the next time we can kind of come on here and chop it up.
Thanks, Tyree. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you, brother.